Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of cattle, the show of UFOs, Mezcal, Durango, Coahuila, Torreon, a bunch of different things that I learned in this episode. It was such a joy speaking with the founder and owner of Ultramundo Mezcal from Durango, Sergio Garnier. I mean, he's got French, he's got Mexican background. We talk about all this stuff. The Son del Silencio, someone correct me, Son el Silencio. The national park in Durango where NASA had an incident. This is a piece of history I never knew anything about that Sergio caught me up on. It's amazing. A mezcal made from 100% Lamparillo from Sergio's ranch. A lot of talk about cattle, the family business, music, and so much more. And this is a testament to the closeness of the mezcal community. I wouldn't have met Sergio if it hadn't been for Lou Bank, who did an intro via text. We hung out in Austin, had some great mezcal, and had a great time. So without further ado, I hope you all enjoy this great chat with Sergio Garnier of Ultramundo Mezcal.
For me, like, it took me there. It was kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But before I was an agave nerd.
Were you really?
Like, were really into mezcal, and I had like the good luck of ending up doing it now as a job. I can't say for a living because still not, but I'm hoping maybe this year or the next one to at least make it break even and keep doing this job that I love.
Did you have a moment where, I think everybody has like this kind of moment where they try some kind of agave spirit, maybe it's sotol, but mezcal for me particularly, that you tried something and you're like, oh shit, this is going to change my perspective about spirits. Yeah.
Well, in Mexico, and we don't have that much, at least in Torreon where I live, we don't have that much like cool bars with these amazing agave programs where you are exposed to all these different expressions. They are beginning to pop up now. In Torreon, there are two nice places, two nice mezcalerias.
That's cool.
Yeah,
if I come down there,
good friends. You should really try them. But then I remember the first time I tried mezcal, it was like, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago at a music festival.
Oh, yeah.
It was a shitty one, but I remember, what's this? And I really like the smokiness, you know, the different, like, but the balls on it. And it was like, okay. And from there I began. And then I found out that was just one sort of kind of mezcal.
Sure.
But then I figured out all this complexity, all these regions, and I just got into the rabbit hole.
Well, two things. One, what festival was it? Do you remember?
It was a small local festival in Torreon.
Oh, okay.
Waco Fest, something like
kind of
that.
Like more local bands or Mexican bands. And then the second thing is when because I think to be business minded, you have to. You were talking about Dalton, right? So Dalton was sitting in that exact chair a couple weeks ago, and I could tell that he could pick things apart, the details, right? And when you think about mezcal and you think about the regions, you think about the different kinds of distillation. I mean, especially in Durango, it's different than it is in like San Luis Potosí. Does that part of it interest you too? Like the broad landscape, like the different ways that people make mezcal. And is that appealing to you?
So from the agave perspective, that blows my mind. From the producer perspective or brand owner perspective, I want to focus on Durango. I want to just by now, at least at this moment, focus on what's been done in Durango and Chihuahua. Because where I am, La Laguna, it's neighbor with these areas. Actually, we're part of the city. I was explaining to you before. It's kind of La Laguna, one part of the city. It's a big city composed by
three different states. That's
different
really
cities.
Cool.
Some of them in Coahuila, some of them in Durango. Torreon is where I live. That is in the Coahuila part, but the ranch is in Durango. So right now, I'm really interested in getting as deep as because I don't come from mezcal. I'm not a third, fourth generation mezcal producer. Right. So I really want to get to know what Durango is doing and then go and look other. Like I love going to Oaxaca. I'm going there in September. But
good.
for me, it's just first knowing what I have around me, what my region produces, and then going from there.
Is there any kind of history? I know I've had a couple sotoles that are made in Coahuila, but is there any history of agave distillation in Coahuila that you know of?
Yeah, I think there is. I'm not sure, and I don't wanna, but I have no idea. Definitely sotol.
Yeah.
Because the only agave that grows in this area is Lamparillo that I know. Well, not in the Coahuila, but in the Laguna part.
Yeah.
And sotoleros prefer to distill sotol because, and then I find out why. Because Lamparillo is so tough to work with. It's lower in sugar content than sotol,
which is crazy to think.
So from the business perspective, I guess it's more convenient to distill sotol than Lamparillo. And not everywhere you find Lamparillo, and sometimes Lamparillo doesn't even make it to maturity. They throw the quiote prematurely because of the tough desert conditions. So I believe we have like a microclimate in our ranch that actually allows the Lamparillo to thrive. And because the Lamparillo that I found in the parts of Coahuila closer to the Laguna region are just smaller, and I never seen, and the quiotes I see is from smaller plants that
really
obviously are like prematurely quioting. That's what I'm assuming.
That's really fascinating. I mean, the thing is, because I was looking at kind of your history as I do before any interviews, and we had some time to kind of sip mezcales and stuff on Tuesday, but it feels like to me you've always been a pretty ambitious guy, relatively intelligent, that your family had maybe some success in agriculture and all of that, but you've studied quite a bit. Like, did you feel like you needed to keep studying, get more degrees, speak French, speak English, you know? Is that something that's in you to keep thriving and succeeding like that?
So thank you. And yeah, like, for example, 3 years ago, I was thinking about doing an MBA and you know, keep educating myself. But right now, I'm in the point where I want to educate myself in agave, in agave production. And so, yeah, I had the chance to go to, you know, a good school. I went to business school, Tec de Monterrey in Torreon. My major is international business, so I had the opportunity to spend a semester in Toulouse for an exchange program.
Yeah, amazing.
One in Vancouver, where I did the marketing certificate, and that's giving me many tools to actually make this project or improve my chances of being successful at this project, and put all that knowledge into a product, and you know, introducing it to the US market, because that has been the goal since the beginning. For me, it was very clear.
Well, there's been another kind of undercurrent too that's I think been part of your work life and your education, because you were working with, was it like an pharmaceutical company probably in Quebec maybe, or is it in Vancouver?
I did an intern in the Quebec area with one of the companies we work with. So my father is a vet. My father founded his own small business. He began as a practitioner, and then he began trading pharmaceuticals, medicines, vaccines. And then actually that business began in Sinaloa, where I was born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But then so the story I know is that my parents were waiting for me to be born, to move to Torreon, because both families of my mother and father's side were living in Torreon.
I see.
So we moved back to Torreon, and my father founded the business. Torreon, or the Laguna region, is the main dairy production cluster for Mexico.
Really?
So we produce like 70% of the milk that is drunk.
I had no idea.
In all Mexico.
Yeah.
So that really made my father business boom. We focused on that, and they say we, because for my whole professional career, before getting to Mezcal, I was working in the farms as a basically medical service, health service provider for the farmers.
Wow.
Mainly dairy farms, and also feedlots, and some extensive farming, some poultry, but mainly dairy. That's our main business.
Specialty.
Yeah, specialty. And then my father had the opportunity to become a farmer or a cattleman himself.
Okay.
So that's what brought us to having the ranch where now we have the agave and that.
Which we were talking about that, of course. But something I found for whatever reason, I've been talking about species of cow with my Japanese friend, Risa-san, because she's a native Japanese speaker. And
they're breeds.
Breeds. And so I said, well, what does Wagyu mean? And she's like, oh, it means this. And she writes the symbols out. I'm like, that's fascinating. I was like, what does Kobe mean? And it's something like God's chamber or something for Kobe.
Wow.
Did you know that? I had no idea. Know. I'm like, okay, cool. What does that mean? Like, why would that be the name?
I'm more familiar with the breeds that we have in Mexico.
Yeah.
And most of the breeds come after the name where they were. For example, we work a lot with French breeds.
Uh-huh.
So we had the Montpellier. We have the Charolais.
No kidding.
We have the Holstein. I actually don't know where that name comes from, but I think it's German. I have no idea. But that's the main, like most of the dairy farms are Holstein because that's the top milk producer breed. But
I found that list of breeds that the family offers and stuff. I was like, it was a very diverse group of cattle.
It's like dogs.
Yeah.
You have a big range and they look super different. You know?
They do. I mean, I love cat. I'm not a vegetarian, but I quite like cows. It's very nice animals.
And in the production angle, each breed is good for. So there are some breeds that are better for beef, for milk, or for certain weathers or for certain conditions. They thrive better.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's great. Did your connection to because you studied in Toulouse, you said for like a semester.
I did a semester.
Did that French connection have anything to do with the cattle having French roots, or was it kind of?
Yeah. So my great grandfather was French.
Yeah.
And also, my father began the business working mainly with French companies.
Oh.
So we're representing some French companies in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And also that took me to, when I did the semester in Toulouse, I also did an internship in one of the French companies we represent in Mexico. They gave me the opportunity to spend, a summer internship just, so I planned that way. And I've been exposed to French culture since, because of the, the family.
And your father's side is French, your mother's side is?
No, just my father. And actually it was just my great-grandfather that migrated to Mexico after World War II.
Wow.
But from there it's just 100% Mexican, right?
Yeah,
100% Mexican.
Yeah, there's a little bit of French
that happened to have like a French last name. And
where did you said great grandfather or grandfather?
Great grandfather.
Where did he settle in Mexico when he came?
I think it was in Estado de Mexico.
Oh, okay.
With Chapan, and then Mexico City, I think, and then went back to France.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
And he was killed, I think, and then my great-grandmother remarried, and most of the French heritage was lost.
Wow, that's fascinating, man. Like I can't track my stuff back.
That's what I know.
Yeah, but that's still cool.
And I hope if my relatives and my brother is very invested now with now this, how do you call this, my heritage thing, tracking back and
genealogy.
He's putting together the puzzle. I have no idea, and to be honest, I'm not interested. I have too many other things to worry about at this point.
But I think there's something that we were talking about, because I love music and you love music. Do you find yourself, okay, this is how I'll ask it actually, because we won't talk about bands, of course, but do you find yourself to be more analytical in your outputs in business, or do you find yourself to be more creative?
Wow, that's a great question. I think I tend to be more analytical, but from time to time also, I for example, I'm really happy with this project because it really allows me to let that creative part of me flow.
Yeah,
and also there's this side of me. So, but I think I lean more into the analytical side, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when we get the opportunities, because we were talking when you got here earlier, and I was like, I just need to create. That's the only thing that makes me feel like I'm alive, But one thing that I think, and I hope you had a lot of input on it, but the Ultramundo, like the design on this is beautiful. The label looks good. You know what I mean? And so was this, you must have had a lot of input on how this should look and feel, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of input. Actually, the artist is named like me, Luis Sergio. stage name El Máscara. So when I was beginning this project, I didn't have any budget at all. It began as a hobby, like as a, just let's see what happens. So I didn't have the means to actually go to a real, marketing company to make all the branding, naming. So I did the naming. I had the ideas and the concept, and Luis Sergio Mascara really captured what I had in my mind. And I think he did a great job. I'm really happy with the result.
It looks great. And I love that.
So for us, it was showcasing the Zona del Silencio, where we come from. So, and we didn't want a square label.
Yeah.
And we were not able, because of the volume and the budget part, we're not able to come up with a mold, with a bottle, with a custom model. So we'll have to go with a for the standard. And then, but we were like, let's get crazy with the label to really differentiate ourselves and really showcase. For me, so he's a really talented illustrator. So for me, it was illustrate Zona del Silencio and showcase it in the label in a very crazy, and the species, but at the same time real. And that's, did you have any, besides capturing the essence of the place, which is really important, did you have any other kind of stylistic inspiration, something that you maybe saw illustration wise, and you're like, I kind of like that? Sometimes designers will be like, well, give me a few examples of things that you like. So I saw his job and I saw his style, his illustration style, and it was like,
that's it.
That's what it was funny, because I actually had a piece in my house in one, how do you call one cuadro?
Yeah.
And we were having the Zoom, and he saw it because it was COVID times.
Yeah.
And he actually looked into it was in my living room. Hey, that I did that.
Oh my God, really?
Really.
Where did you get the piece? Do you remember where you bought it?
Yeah, it was, so I was in this vinyl club, like a subscription box called Faramaya.
Yeah, go figure.
You will receive a record every month.
Oh, you said My Vinyl? Whatever. What is that?
It's Faramaya.
Okay, Faramaya.
So it's based on the My Vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
And together with the record, you will receive an art piece. So normally it was an illustration the size of a vinyl record.
Yeah.
So my favorite ones, I ended up how you call enmarcado,
putting
them in frames. And so it's not the original piece, it's like an original copy sign, how that works, how we call that in English. But so my favorite ones, I have them like on frames on my
that's so crazy.
Living room, and
how did you get one of them? Was he a friend beforehand, or did you saw his work and didn't even realize you had how did the two of you actually connect?
So Torreon is not a big town.
No.
And also another friend that at the beginning helped me, that used to have a Sotol brand, told me, I worked with him, I really like what he did. And then I went through his portfolio, I really liked him.
Yeah.
What his style and what he has, and then it went from there. And actually we now I consider him a good friend.
That's great. I mean, I love how that's because the industry, actually a good illustration of exactly that. The industry of artists and of brand people, it's quite small, really.
Yeah.
If you think about it. And that's why what was funny is, so Marco Ochoa was in town last week for Gusto Historico doing the tasting. And I knew you were in town. And in my head, I'm thinking, you know what? I bet Sergio is going to show up here. Right?
Really?
I did. I told Kay, who I was with, which you met.
And I had no idea that was happening. I was just I had the list of the bars, because here I didn't know, I just had a list. I had an appointment at Suerte with Fermin, who, by the way, was super cool. Because he's from Torreon, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a good friend of a good friend.
Yeah.
So he helped us connect. But that's the only appointment I had. I had 3 days in Austin. So I had a list of places, and actually you helped me complete that one. And I told you have to be there. And so it's a speakeasy in a Mexican restaurant. And they told me there's a private event, but I was okay. I'm just gonna squeeze myself in, and
But I knew it, because and that was the thing. And then again, this is really just to illustrate that it's a very small world of people that love agave.
Yeah.
And then Johnny's there. Johnny's a good friend, and then he's like, what? And it was just this beautiful kind of connection.
It was.
Do you find that happens more and more the more that you share this beautiful mezcal?
Yes, it's happening a lot. I'm really happy about this project, this this mezcal connecting me.
Yeah.
To really, I'm meeting my heroes now. So, for example, I met Pedro from Mesonte.
Yeah.
Super cool guy at Encuentros del Maestro del Mezcal. And they told me, are you the Ultramundo guy? Yeah, I've seen that brand from. He's like, yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it feels amazing.
I love that. Like, that, you know, because I've been in this a while, and I've been a businessman a long time, but maybe your mezcal journey is kind of like starting, you know, and to be able to see people that you've known like 10 years now and see them publish multiple books and stuff. It's just like really nice to see people create and produce things in this industry. It's really like enlightening to me. And are there any spots of production geographically that you really want to explore? You said you're going to Oaxaca in September, but have you thought about, because it's such a different style, like again, San Luis Potosí, have you think about traveling and studying each of those styles? Yeah,
I definitely, so Oaxaca, I'm going for vacation. So that's what I told my wife. and I'm hoping to actually.
Is your son going to go with you?
No, so it's our 10th anniversary. Oh. So we're spending some days in Oaxaca, just like a small holiday.
Good.
But I really want to explore Chihuahua next to see what Chihuahua is doing. And then I want to like move geographically. And I know they're doing interesting things in Nuevo León, even though it's outside the DO area.
Yes.
And also I want to explore San Luis Potosí.
Yeah.
Because those are the agaves. I want to keep exploring Durango. Durango is still super big, and I just know just a little bit of the whole what's happening.
Right.
Different areas in more remote areas. I'm in a very remote area. But yeah, so Chihuahua, San Luis, Durango, and I think that will still give me
tons of
stuff to see. But what I'm thinking to do with Oaxaca or Guerrero or the regions is collaborate with other maestros.
Oh, okay.
To showcase the Lamparillo, because we're all about the Lamparillo that grows in our land wildly. And then maybe the iterations we have in mind is collaborating with different maestros using their techniques. Logistically, that will be a challenge, but it's doable.
That's cool, though.
For example, we did a rabbit pechuga, a collaboration with Maestro Alan Hernandez of Boscal with Lamparillo.
Okay, cool.
That turned out great. We have just one batch. So we're planning on doing these special batches and these special collaborations to keep it interesting, because we are all about just producing with what grows in our ranch. And that is Lamparillo, and that is Sotol.
Yeah.
So the Sotol expression will come.
There's a bunch of Sotol too. Would you say it's about equal in how they grow?
Yeah, a bit more. I think at least what the area of the ranch that we studied, because you pay to study and they charge you per hectare. So we studied the areas where they were more agave. But I think we have a little bit more of Sotol population, or the Sotol population is larger than the agave.
Oh wow! Okay. Do you know, because Sotol, it keeps regenerating, and it's a very alien plant, man. I love it and hate it at the same time. But for the agave, because I don't know this, do Lamparillo, do they produce hijuelos?
Lots of them.
They do? Okay.
A lot. Like Lamparillo, it at least in that conditions, that super stressful conditions, we have estimated somewhere around 3 to 5 per year average. So a lot. They end up cramping, like making like these colonies. So the only thing we're doing is the ones that are big enough and they are like beginning to get in the way of the other growing, and they are clones of the mother. So we're just separating them and replanting them in areas where they have more space. Yeah, that's the only thing we're doing so far. That's because cool, we want to keep it wild. We want to keep it just self-sustainable.
It's they will just. That's the thing that I find lovely about agaves. They thrive on their own.
Yeah,
and you kind of like don't want to even get in their way at all.
Yeah, I'm amazed by this plant because I thought they reproduced by 3 different means, but it's 5 ways they reproduce. I don't want to get too technical, but I'm discovering and they are so badass.
Yeah,
and especially in these conditions where we have, and then the only varietal that grows in this desert part we are is the Lamparillo, and I think that's for a reason, because it's super cold. It almost never rains, but also in the winter it's super cold. So the agave freezes. I did some experiments because also grow for hobby like agaves and succulents and cacti, and the espadines I introduced some varietals from Oaxaca just to see.
Yeah.
And the espadines, they died.
Right.
Yeah.
We had
with the freezing.
Yeah, we had a freeze again this year. We had like a terrible freeze, and so I had planted hundreds of agave americana. Coyote is another word for it. Like it's an up.
Yeah, I also introduced some coyotes.
Yeah, and they just died.
They are so weak.
They're weak. That's right.
They call them chillones. I found out in Oaxaca they call it chillon, and the lamparillo is like not even bothered.
The same thing with sotol, because and one of the reasons I think that sotol. Okay, to compare the leaf structure, like I had a picture of my friends in Oaxaca, and he sends me a picture, and he's like, "Do you know what this is?" And I go, "Well, the leaves look like sotol, but it's really long, like a bicuiche, you know." He's like, "It's sotol, it's cucharillo." I was like, "Okay."
Cucharillo.
But not Texas ones are round. They don't grow long like that.
Yeah, and there are all these varietals. I actually don't know exactly which varietal of Daisy I have, because I just arbitrarily were like, these are Cedrosanum, but I think, and I'm gonna get scientific about it, and maybe bring some researches, because we believe it's Cedrosanum. That's what they told me, but I've seen some differences.
Have you seen any that grow, as I'm making a thing that people can't see? Can you see? Does some of them grow very tall?
Yeah.
Narrow? Some of the ones on the ranch? Okay.
Some of them. Not super tall, but they get a lot. We also have a lot of yucca and palmilla. So they get like confused.
I made that mistake a lot of times. Yeah, one's gonna.
But they don't grow that tall. But sometimes, we have some
like that,
like this.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, I'm very curious what kind of grows out there, because I was always there was a pretty widespread study by University of Texas PhD student, which demarcates which areas in Texas had which species. And I've only personally seen small renty texanum when I've harvested, but apparently there's Cedrosanum, there's Leophyllum, like all of it in Texas. But I've never seen any of the big ones. I'm kind of jealous. Let me be honest. I'm kind of jealous that I want to work with these things, but I don't see them around that much. So when we were talking about the ranch last week, you said it gets pretty hot.
Yes, it is.
Tell me about what it's like being at the ranch. I love different. It's hot, right? But is it mountainous? Is it rocky? Is it grassy? How would you describe it?
Well, first, it's my happy place.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like, because it's so remote, it's so in the middle of nowhere, but it spans for 24,000 acres.
24,000.
So it's big. So we have like a quarter of it is like rocky, and then there are spots that are like desert, really? Like super eroded, and it's just sandy. And you need to come over.
I do. I need to.
So you can see it for yourself. And then it in the winter is cold. It changes a lot. The best is in rain season. The smell, because we have. Are you familiar with this plant, Gobernadora?
No, what is that?
It's, I don't know. I will let you know.
You show me a picture of it.
It's a bush. That.
Oh, is it creosote? Is that what we call it here?
What's the name?
Creosote.
Maybe?
It's like a kind of grayish, or is it really green? The one I'm thinking of.
It's green, and it has a yellow flower. It flowers in the.
That's different. That's different.
And when there's humidity, it just all the ranch smells like that, and it's the best smell in the world.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it's and also super clear skies. We have no light pollution because we're so remote. So the stargazing in the night, like I go and just stare at the stars. The Milky Way shows all the way.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's super nice. And so I guess in the summer is when it's worse, like it's just super hot.
Right.
But then after September, after rains, it's quite nice, and it gets greener.
Yeah.
Because it rains sometimes. But yeah, it should look maybe like the south of Texas if you want to compare
that's what I was
to something.
Thinking, right?
It's part of the Chihuahuan Desert. So Durango, most of the state, it's a big state. Most of the state is like mountains and more like forest ecosystem. But there's this small patch at the northwest that touches Coahuila and Chihuahua. That is actually where the Chihuahuan Desert begins. That's where it goes all the way up to Texas, West Texas, Arizona.
Yeah, there's a little bit in New Mexico too. Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous! I didn't realize that.
So yeah, it's desert basically.
Well, with those clear, because I saw this somewhere when someone was writing about Ultramundo, and this might have been something you gave as like a marketing thing. But People see a lot of UFOs out there?
Well, that's the Zona del Silencio, and that's where the naming and kind of the inspiration for the branding and but yeah, there's a lot of stories. There are some events that actually happened, not UFOs that were still confirmed. There are a lot of urban legends, but Zona del Silencio is in the Mapimi municipality where the ranch is. That actually is inside a natural protected area. So that's like the serious part of the Zona del Silencio thing. The silent zone will be, or the zone of silence.
Yeah.
And yeah, so back in the day, when, you know, technology was not that advanced, radios didn't work. So that's where the name came from. And then
like the Bermuda Triangle kind of thing?
Yeah, and the compasses will all get crazy. There was this magnetism there. And in the 1960s, when the NASA was doing the test rocket ships for the first mission to the moon, one of them, they were doing these tests that were supposed to land in White Sands.
Yeah.
One of them was lost course, and crashed in the silent zone.
No way.
So that's when the legend like really came to life, because actually NASA people came all the way down there. They built a railroad from Escalon, from Mapimi to the actual site, because so that's where the official version is. Well, the real version is that it was powered by what's the name? Nuclear radioactive material, cobalt 70. So the official story is that they had to remove all the rest on, and also because, you know, it's the middle of the race to the moon with the Russians, so they want to make sure they capture all the fragments,
so no one can take it and copy it and stuff, right?
So from there, the urban legends begin, that aliens and UFOs and stuff.
No,
but that really happened.
That's so cool. I had no idea.
And some other, like, yeah, there's a lot of, like, if you Google it, you'll find some crazy stories.
Have you? Okay, because I've you know, I was born in Roswell.
Okay,
which we know about.
So you're familiar to the UFO, and lately you
well, this is what I'm going to ask you about. Yeah, it's well, so it's funny because you know, like, stuff's being declassified here in the United States, and there's like more information about it. But I do make a joke that if any alien stuff's going down, they'll give me a call first, right? Because I'm a part of that whole thing.
Okay.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm going to say it's true. But have you had any kind of experiences seeing things, or really like close contact with unidentified flying objects and stuff out there?
Just a meteor. So I've seen 3 meteors.
Oh, cool.
Like one in the actual, so the Zona del Silencio is like 50 kilometers away from the ranch. We are not in the Zona del Silencio. We are in the area. So one, I go camping, and I camped there a couple of times, and one of them I saw like this green meteorite. It was the first time in my life seeing that.
big.
It was amazing. And, you know, like kind of a lightning that it becomes like day for a second, and it just disappears. It was green. And then back in the ranch, 2 times I've seen other 2 meteors in the same direction.
Really?
Where the Zona del Silencio is, like, and all in the same, like kind of the Ultramundo logo, like just like that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now this makes more sense.
So that's another thing that happens in Zona del Silencio. You can find a lot of meteorites.
Really? That's so cool. I had.
So there's something special.
It's very, and you said only about 50 kilometers from
the ranch. Yeah.
How big is that area then, Zona del Silencio?
So it's not very clear what is actually the Zona del Silencio, but it is inside the natural protected area that is called the Reserva de la Biosfera de Mapimi. And I have no idea, but it's big. I will,
really big. Bigger than the ranch?
Yeah, much bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big, like thousands and thousands of hectares
in that
of desert.
Okay.
And that is like the Zona del Silencio is like desert, like dunes, sand dunes in some areas.
Really?
Like, yeah.
So that's what we would kind of like Sahara desert.
Some patches, some areas of it are like that.
Really?
And some with a lot of lamparillo.
Yeah.
And with
kidding.
With nopal, we have purple nopales. That's also super cool.
That's very cool.
And lots of gobernadoras.
Wow.
This bush, because there's all this biodiversity, among it the desert tortoise that is featured in the label. There's a reason behind that, but it's quite magical place. It's a desert, but I find it beautiful.
How do you get out there? Do you just take you get this nice 4-wheel drive truck? Can you take that out there, or do you have to do like hiking or?
No, you can go in the truck, but actually you have to ask for permission because it's a natural protected area.
Biosphere, yeah.
And it's managed by the ejidatarios of La Flor. So you have to check in with them because a lot of people get lost.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so remote, and in rain season it happens to us once. It rains and the dirt becomes mud, like bad.
Wow,
so we
inescapable, I imagine,
yeah,
right?
That happened to us once, and we learned it the hard way.
Wow.
So normally you will have to check in with them, and they will give you a tour. You are actually not allowed to camp in the silent zone.
Oh.
But we're lucky enough to go with the director of the natural protected area because we are actually donating part of our profits for a conservation program for the desert tortoise. So we're doing kind of scouting. We went with him. Super strict rules.
Yeah.
But normally you are able to camp in the boundaries of the silent zone. Wow. Because of the natural protected area part.
Yeah.
And just for safety.
I love that. Well, because sometimes our perceptions about Mexico is it's not, it's dangerous and it's like dirty and there's all this bullshit. I know that, right? But when you talk about this beautiful biosphere and things are being protected and this massive desert, it's just like so romantic sounding to me.
It's so diverse because you go to Oaxaca, it's super different. Yeah. And then you go to the coast, you go to Riviera Maya, you go to the Huasteca, you go to, and it's very diverse and it has a beauty on it, a different beauty.
Right.
Most people associate Mexico, or for example, in the Mezcal scene to Oaxaca. Mm-hmm. And that's for a reason, that they are the ones that actually put it out there in the map.
Yeah.
And it's becoming like the a very important cultural artistic pole for the country.
Yeah.
But also we have a lot of beauty in the north, in Durango, in Coahuila, and I'm really proud of it. And also that's one of the motivations behind this project, just generate awareness that there's also this beautiful area of Mexico that has an interesting story to tell.
Mm. So I was curious when we were talking about La Laguna, right? That region, but Torreon, is that right?
Torreon.
But that's you said a small city.
So yeah, it's not a big town, but it's the bigger of the three main cities that make La Laguna.
Got it. Okay. And so what I really love. So let's say in the United States, right? So Texas is really big, right? So if you go east in Texas, you reach a whole different kind of culture.
Yeah.
A different kind of people. I don't know if you've been to Louisiana yet.
Yes. Okay. Just went through there.
But like different kinds of folks, right? And it's just as you kind of move. Are there distinct personalities or cultures in La Laguna, given it's 3 different states? Or is it more just like a norteño kind of vibe?
In La Laguna, we call ourselves Laguneros. Like we really feel, and we all feel like the same, like it's the same culture.
To united, right?
We sometimes make fun of the guys in Gomez and Lerdo, but it's just like, but we consider ourselves more than from Coahuila or from Durango. We consider ourselves from La Laguna.
Oh, that's amazing. So in that case,
the football team, it's Santos Laguna.
Got it. Okay.
And the baseball team is Unión Laguna.
Oh.
So it's, it's for us, it's the city is La Laguna.
I love that. Is there a university there?
Yeah. So Torreon is for the size of the town has a lot of universities. So there's Tec de Monterrey campus where
you went, right? Yeah.
Some private schools and also a bunch of also public schools and universities.
I love it because again, people think that Mexico is just like this one single culture. That's why I was asking.
No,
like, no, man.
Not at all.
And I love that because it's just as diverse as the United States are.
Yeah.
It's just as divided in certain ways as the United States is.
And it's not as showcased because, again, you will find like normally Americans, most of them, and they will go to Riviera Maya. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's just something that's a very specific spot or Baja. But if you go to Mexico City, you go to Guadalajara.
Different.
You go to Monterrey, you will find different looking people, different accents, different cultures, different food, different everything. Even, for example, in a state like Oaxaca, each region is different.
Totally different.
They speak different languages, pre-Hispanic like Zapotec, Nahuatl, Mixteco, and you can find definitely more richness, pre-colonial richness in the center and south.
Yeah.
Because those were actually the most fertile and best actually spots to stay.
Yeah.
Not much of the people were not interested in the desert in the north, so that's where we end up.
That's fun. I love
ended
that.
up.
And so you did say that. Well, one I want to talk about this Lamparilla real quick because I've had Lamparilla before. When we first started talking, like, you've had it, like yeah, it might have very well been made by Alberto. I'm not sure.
Not there are not many maestros doing Lamparillo. It's because it's tough to work with.
The low yield and all of
so
that.
It's a rare occurring plant in the main mezcal producing areas, say Nombre de Dios.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's tough in the fermentation. It's if you don't know what you're doing, you can mess up the whole batch.
How big are the plants? Like just like if they're big and trimmed with like a basketball size?
Yeah, so the piñas average will be like 20 kilos.
Oh, geez,
25 kilos. Yeah, like a basketball.
Yeah.
Sometimes larger, sometimes smaller, but around that average.
Stylistically, and I don't usually get this much detail, but I'm actually really curious because I love the way this tastes because it's equally sweet and peppery. And there's coffee notes and stuff. It's like, it tastes like it's dry, but it shimmers with brightness and acidity. So it makes me think like this place must be beautiful because it tastes like this plant went through some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it does. So this plant takes like 20 years to reach maturity in the desert, and it looks like kind of a crossbreed between Lamparillo, between Salmiana and Cenizo.
Oh, okay.
But a smaller version.
Yeah.
Like a smaller version of this combination. Some look more like towards the Cenizo part.
Yeah.
And something very particular about this agave, actually the scientific name is asperrima.
Asperrima? Oh, okay.
Because it's aspers. Is that a word in English? Aspero?
I think so. I have to look.
So in Spanish or Latin is aspero means like sandpaper feel. So if you touch the back of the leaf, you will see like this sandpaper texture.
Interesting, yeah.
So that's, I guess, that's why it's named that way.
Oh,
and that doesn't, neither the Cenizo or the Salmiana have this trait.
Wow. And I know that with many tepastates, given they're so old, that the fibrous material, that many of the maestros will leave a lot of penca when they chop it, right?
Yeah.
Given the age and probably the rigidity, as you're talking about, or the leaves itself, when you all chop it down, you leave a bit of penca on it?
Yeah.
I figured you have to, right?
And you can profile it, like the profile begins there. You have different notes with the amount of penca you leave. And actually, it's a stiff penca. Mm-hmm. We don't use coas. They don't do it. We need to use axes. Really? And a special manufacturer axe from out of plowing discs that has like this super tough steel. So there are some artisans that make especially the pencas, the axes that are able to cut the pencas.
Oh man, that's incredible! I love that. You have to show me a picture of that because that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, and that's what another thing I love about the regional differences. Right? You can't harvest. I mean, you can, but you can't really harvest sotol with a koa and trim it with a koa like you can with an agave because the leaves are so much different and they're more moisture. You know. So and that's just another like really beautiful thing about the just slight differences in how the agave are across the regions based on the shit they had to go through.
Yeah, and the shit they go through, and also what we need to do to harvest that and to make that mezcal is very different to what you can do with espadín or with tequilana. They had to come up with their own tools, invent their own tools to make it to make something out of it. I
love that. So we've been talking about sotol a lot, behind the curtains here before we recorded. Mm-hmm. When are you planning on having a sotol ready?
So hopefully by the end of this year.
Yeah.
And actually I have some technical questions for you.
Okay, yeah, of course.
For the interview. But yeah, we're hoping before the year ends, we have a sotol expression out there.
That's incredible.
From the ranch, from Pelayo Ranch.
Do you have a preference with the profile of sotol versus agave, or you like kind of all of them for different reasons?
Like compared to each other?
Yeah.
It's different. I love both of them. Mm-hmm. But I'm at this point and I think I haven't tried as much sotol as I have tried agaves.
I see.
So that's why also I want to do this like
keep that
Chihuahua journey.
Yeah.
And see. But I've tried some amazing stuff. I really like it.
Well, one of the other things I really wanted to talk to you about, because I got to come down to the ranch anyway.
Just hang out. We will do.
I would love that. But we have similar music tastes, which I quite like.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that you mentioned was Interpol, right?
Yeah.
It's one of your... You've gotten a chance to see them, right? Oh, yeah, you told me you saw
them.
Yeah,
in Pal Norte Festival in Monterrey. Live Out Festival in Monterrey, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 4, I don't recall.
Well, these last years have been blurry, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you seek out live music? I mean, we've talked, not even intentionally, but we talked about live music twice now. And I just imagine it's something that does it make you, is it something you need to do?
Yes. I try to do is I don't get it as much as I would like, because in Torreon, the bands I like, they don't tour Torreon. So I'll have to go to Monterrey or to Guadalajara or to Mexico City. And what I end up doing is going to festivals, because then you can catch many bands. So it's good in a side because you can see lots of bands, but you don't get to see the real show of the band. But yeah, the lineup for Corona Capital in Mexico City just came out, and it's really impressive.
Who's headlining?
Well, it's Arcade Fire.
That's right. Yeah.
On Friday. So you have a headliner every day. It's massive, and I'm just interested on Friday.
Yeah.
There are also bands that I like in this Saturday because it's 3 days. But I think, and I hope my work and everything allows me to go to at least on Friday, catch Arcade Fire. It's gonna be, I think, Krumbig.
Oh, those guys.
Who else? I need to check, but there are a bunch of bands
Friday's the day
that I like. Yeah, for me.
Yeah. Well, I love. I mean, you've heard of the ACL Fest that's here too?
I haven't. I'm hoping to go. I've never been to ACL. Maybe this is a year.
Mars Volta.
I've been telling that for many years. Wow, it's coming to ACL.
Yeah, they're playing the Friday actually.
I actually don't wanna see the lineup because it will just get me mad that I can't be here. But I hope this year is a year, or maybe next.
The good thing is that, and I kind of look at it this way, when my gin is on a menu, right? I'm only going because I'm supporting my business, right? So I was like, well, half of this meal or whatever the tax break is on meals. So you could just do an in-market, right? And then you could say, well, all of the gas and everything, and all the travel expenses, you write those off, and then you go to ACL.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
Good.
That's the way it will happen. And I think, and it's making sense because I might be back in October.
Oh, good.
So this year might be the year.
And then it won't be 100 degrees out.
I hope.
Nice weather in October, typically.
We're used to hot weather. Yeah. So to dry hot weather, not just to... For me, this weather is nice, but in the beach.
Oh, yeah.
In a swimsuit with a cold beer.
Exactly. Not in the middle of a city with a bunch of tall buildings and stuff. Yeah, I totally agree with you. All right, so I got one question left for you, and this is something I ask everybody. I'm not trying to stump you. I hope you find it fun. So let's say you're anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where, and you're sipping your Lampreville with any musician, living or deceased. Who might you like to sit down and drink with?
Wow. It will be hard to pick one.
Sure. Impossible, probably.
Yeah. It actually won't be a musician, but it will be... Are you familiar with Rick Rubin?
Yeah, of course.
I think I would like to... He looks like a great guy to have a talk. And then I discovered most of my favorite albums.
He produced them.
He produced them. So I think... And I relate... And he says he doesn't know music. As I consider myself, I love music, but I don't know to play any instrument. I used to play drums, so I'm really bad at it. But I think I'm thinking, and I'm really fascinated. I've been watching some interviews, so I think I will have a nice time with some Mezcales with him.
I love that. I learned something about he just put out a book, right?
Yeah, it's in my Reindex now.
And I'm not an avid reader. I admit this to folks. I'm consuming things often to learn, but I don't. To me, reading a book is like, well, I gotta get it done then, and I'll just obsessively finish it, and then I can't do it. So then other people read books, right? And they can tell me about it. I'll watch the movies and tell them. But he said something that I find really interesting, and I think this kind of common thread of not getting a signal, right?
Yeah.
Sound
like connecting to the source kind of thing.
The source, yes. Just this thing that's around us.
Yeah.
Whether it's I don't care how this sounds, but whether it's the energy from the plants because they have energy from nature or whatever. But he said that when you're in the creative process, now it doesn't just apply to that, but the creative process is not about you putting out your thoughts. It's not about that. It's about being receptive to all the thoughts around you.
It's just being able to capture that is already there.
That's right.
Waiting for you.
That's right.
And being like in the right mood and being in the right mindset.
Yes.
To receive that.
I love that.
And it just gets that. So yeah, that's the kind of conversation I would really like to have with him to elaborate more on this.
Yeah.
And maybe some Lamparillo will help.
I bet he'd ask you questions so artfully about, he's quite a good interviewer too. All right. So last bit, there's been a really nice Texas tour for you. You've been to Dallas. You're heading to San Antonio next.
Yeah. So after Austin, I did Houston, Dallas. Now I'm going to San Antonio later today, and then back to Torreon.
Wow.
For a 9-hour drive. It's waiting for me.
Is it a pretty drive?
Yeah, it's not bad. Like the Cuatro Ciénegas, Piedras Negras part, actually, that's one of the nicest places of Coahuila, Cuatro Ciénegas. It's not bad. It's cool.
Good. Well, I'm glad we got introed by Lou. I'm glad that we're sitting and talking. I'm glad we got to sip more mezcal last week as well. So Sergio, it's been just a pleasure, man. Obviously, we got to keep in touch. You got to let me know when you're in town. And
thank you, Mike.
I got to come visit.
I appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
Cheers. Well, there we have it. Sergio Garnier of Ultramundo Mezcal. Amazing chats. I get to drink a little bit with him the week previously. He's been really, really running around Texas trying to spread this amazing mezcal and sharing with everybody. And again, like, it's just symbolic. Like, he and I wouldn't have met. I wouldn't have been able to share some of the things that I've distilled. He wouldn't have been able to share this amazing Lamparillo with me had it not been from other people in the industry, And I just finished recording the interview with Dalton Crease, and one of the older Megame Latte releases was Ultramundo. So, like, this is a very small world. These two people know each other, and they're here in my house sitting in a chair. I mean, this is like the height of privilege. Let me just be honest about it. So I'm always so enamored with the people that I get to interview, and honestly, it's a life-changing thing. You've heard me say this before, but I'm different now. I've been doing this thing like before too long. It's gonna be like 10 years, and that's a long time. So, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I think this is an especially great chat, and I cannot wait to make it out to his ranch in Durango. Look at Torreon and Coahuila. Apparently some bustling mezcalerias out there as well. So things are happening. Mezcal is growing, and this community is very, very vibrant. So thanks, everybody, for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how many times you look at this Megame Latte shirt that's sitting on a chair in your recording studio and think, I probably should wear that or at least take it into my bedroom and wash it. Or if you're thinking, I've got this Michter's 20 year, everybody wants to try it. I just don't care. I really don't. Please. Keep dancing.